Difference between Linux 5, 6, and 7. Now, as you're going to learn Linux and you understand Linux, you will know that you will be upgrading your system from different versions. And the reason companies, Linux distribution companies, come up with the different versions is because they enhance their features, existing features, add new features, and fix a lot of bugs. So the reason I'm including this as part of the lesson or part of the training is because maybe you have experience on Red Hat or CentOS 5 or 6, and now it's time to move on to 7. And of course, in my training is everything on 7. So you should really know some of the differences, the primary differences between all these versions. So CentOS and RHEL or Red Hat, what are the major differences? Well, as I mentioned a few times, CentOS and RHEL are both exactly the same. The only difference is that Red Hat provides support, technical support to their customers, and they also provide patches and then break fixes, whereas CentOS they do not. It's a free software, and where you could get support on the community. You just have to wait for someone to reply back when you post your answer or your question. So that's a primary difference. Now, what are the total versions of CentOS and RHEL? Red Hat always started from version 0 through all the way to 7 up to now, whereas CentOS actually spun off of Red Hat when Red Hat was at version 2. So again, the primary version that we will be discussing are version 5, 6, and 7. I have a cheat sheet which I have also attached with this lesson. I'm going to cover that cheat sheet which will enable you to go over it and find out what exactly the differences are. So let's open up my cheat sheet. It's a PDF document, and I'm going to cover really quickly the differences of Red Hat 5, 6, and 7. And please don't be surprised by looking at, hey, this is only Red Hat, what happened to CentOS? As I mentioned, CentOS and Red Hat is exactly the same. So let's start off with the first section right here. It says System Basics. So view subscription information. In 5, we had System ID. 6, no changes. 7, we have Subscription Manager, which is the newer command with identity. Configure subscription. When you want to register your system with Red Hat or Red Hat Satellite, then you run the command rhn underscore register. 5, 6 is same thing. Then 5 and then at 6 they introduced Subscription Manager as well, along with rhn register. And in 7 it's Subscription Manager, but now rhn underscore register is somewhat deprecated. You're probably not going to find in a lot of system or newer version. View system information, how to get SLS report, DMID code, hardware browser. Some of these commands we have already learned. Stays the same in 6 and 7. The last command changes to LSHW, which is list hardware. To view the Red Hat version information, it is etc Red Hat release. It's the same across all the versions. Nothing has changed. All you have to do is cat out this file and you will see the difference. You will see the versions of your CentOS or Red Hat operating system. So this is about system basics. Moving down, the basic configuration. When you configure your system, there is a command in 5 and 6, system-config, and followed by second or third other commands attached to it. You can look it up when you do ls-l on /bin. You'll find these commands. In RHEL 7 they changed it to Genome Control Center. Configure network, we have done that. System config network is a GUI based as well. NMCLI is the newer utility that you should get yourself familiar with. Run this command. This will allow you to configure your network. Then configure system languages. Different commands in 6 and 7. Configure time and date. We have NTP in the older version 5 and 6, and the newer one is cronny cronny C or cronny D is the daemon. You could modify the scrony.conf file. We covered that already in I believe module 7. Then configure keyboard, a couple of different commands from 5 to 6. Text-based configuration tool. There are a few different differences, but they are same across all versions. Configure printers. I'm sure you don't have to worry about it because a lot of times Linux servers are not attached to to printers or fax machines. Configure Samba, same commands, nothing changed. Configure SSH, nothing changed. Everything is the same. Now we're talking about jobs and services. There is configure logging is a syslog.conf file in 5, and in 6 they changed to rsyslog.conf file because R stands for remote. So you could also get remote logs from remote servers. So they enhanced it, added new features. Rel, same thing. Syslog is completely gone. Now it's replaced with rsyslog. List of services, you could do check config -- lists. This is to see what are the services that are enabled at boot time. But in 7 it has changed. Everything is controlled by systemctl now. If you wanted to see the list of all the services, you could do systemctl. I believe space -- list. It will give you all the listing of services that are running, or at service. List running process, service -- status all. In rel 7 again is systemctl. Start and stop the service, service command, and here we have systemctl command. These are the type of service we learned in module 7, so pay close attention how they are changing. So don't be surprised, you should know both commands. Because if you are going into an environment where they have Red Hat 4, 5, or 6, and 7 as well, so you should know which command can be used where. There aren't a lot of changes in the commands, but some of these commands that will make a difference, so that's why I want to make sure they are covered. Check config is a command that will enable service at boot time, and now systemctl does that. Service is same thing, check config same thing. We're talking about the same thing. Run levels, now run level is being controlled by systemctl as well. The run level can be changed by going to etc init tab. Now it is going through the command line. You could make the changes to the run level by running these commands. View logs, nothing changed, var log, but now there's a new command called journalctl, which will provide you more information about the logging. Configure system audit, we do not have covered that. This is more of systems that are facing on the internet or more vulnerable to this hacker's attack, but most of the systems, most of the Linux machines are behind the firewalls. So there isn't much you have to know about this, but it's good that you should know, and nothing has changed. That's main thing. So not to worry about what you need to know, what you don't. Etcpam d.system auth. If you remember, we covered that in a lesson where the lesson where we are doing the OS hardening, how to harden or secure your system. Moving on, cron, add job, everything is the same. I'm not going to cover every detail here because all of them are same. Nothing changed. Then we have kernel, boot, and hardware. What has changed? Single user rescue mode. Some of these changes are the configuration file changes. Shutdown. Before we had shutdown, just a command, but now you run systemctl followed by the shutdown. Same thing, everything is the same commands, except now you define systemctl command preceding the actual command. The file change, we talked about this. Grub file location has changed. The rest all same, nothing has changed. Then software management, yum install, yum group install, everything. The command itself, yum, is the same, except this part where they had yum group install as one word. Now they have added space between group and install. Now, someone would ask me a question, hey Imran, why would they make these changes, or why they put a space, or why they make a command different? Honestly, this just, I don't know. That's the way the standard works. It's just that, like, you could ask a question, why Apple comes up with a different look, with different icons. They just want people to embrace newer features, new technology, new icon. So that's what pretty much it. Of course, I also think that looking at the same thing again and again, you get bored. So change is always good. So that's why every vendor or every operating system provider make changes, like Microsoft and Red Hat, Solaris. Anyway, so on moving, let's move to the right side. I'm gonna go up all the way to the top, and the task is user management. Nothing changed. Everything to create user, delete user, change password, everything is the same. So you don't have to worry about user management. Security and identity, I'm glad nothing changed, because security is something, if you don't want to mess with, if you make a mistake, it could make your system vulnerable or create a leak in your system. But anyway, nothing has changed, so you don't have to remember any new commands. File systems, let's see, file system, volumes, and disks. There are a few things that have changed. In RHEL 5 and 6, we have file system ext3, 4 and 7, we have XFS. Every new version have a newer, faster file system. Now XFS is a lot faster. I covered that in module 2 or module 3, where I covered about the file system, what file system is. Then some of the changes, like port disk, they added new utility. Coming down to mount file system, looks the same. PV creating volume management, everything looks the same. There's nothing changed on mounting the file system or dealing with file system. Then we have networking. IP tables is the command to enable firewall rules. Now we change it to firewall-cmd firewall-config, which is a GUI. This is something that we covered in module 7. Then we have to configure DHCP client. A few of the configuration files changed. Etsy resolved. Etsy hostname, where do you define your hostname? Same thing, Etsy host, Etsy resolve.conf, but now they added a new utility, nmcli con mod. I believe this command updates these files for you, so you don't have to manually add them. I never used it, but if you want to try it, go ahead and use it. Configure hostname, Etsy sysconfig network. And now the newer utility is hostname CTL. We covered that when we were changing the hostname, I believe in module 4. IP is the new command. We have IP config that mostly we covered in our training. Now the newer version of RHEL 7 has IP command, so IP config has been deprecated. You could have that command if you install net-utility package that will allow you to run ifconfig, but don't get used to it. Just be ready to use the newer command, which is IP. Configure network interface. The path is the same, nothing changed, but now you could do update or add IPs or update your configuration file to the command nmcli. The rest looks the same. Going to resource management, all these commands are the same. Top, PSR, top. There are a few commands they probably added. Looks like tuna. I really don't know what it does, but I should look into it, and you should too. They're newer things. It's definitely something with the resource management. It tells you what are the resources available, where's the contention on the network side, where's the distressed resources. So anyway, view disk information, df, iostat, we both covered that, and the rest of the commands are all the same. So these are the commands I wanted to cover, so you should be familiar and be ready when you see new commands. Don't be surprised, hey, I never covered that in the training. So it's there, guys. Try these commands out and be ready to face the challenges in actually corporate environment.